he fucking did it. He actually went and fucking attacked Iran. I'm so fucking goddamn tired of this, dude. I got an excited text from my mother. She bought a Labubu, and it's worth $400. I'm walking her through how to make a... Hope to God she didn't just get addicted to gambling. I don't know what a Labubu is. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to get some shit off of my chest about this. This is so fucking dumb. You said you sent me something, Slav? What is this? All right. What did you show me, Slav? Let's see. Oh, okay.
Can you please respect Israel? Can you please respect the Jewish state in the Middle East? Or you walk the plank? Can you please support a war in Iran? Arg! There be treasure. There be treasure in Israel. There be treasure in AIPAC. Arg. Hi.
Yeah. So, as I was saying the other day about we having no other plan but basically heavy weaponry, and Scott Ritter telling us that during Trump's first administration that he had already set up a thing with Congress, that all of Congress already knows that they were going to go and implement miniature nuclear strikes. And it's really baffling when obviously the entire left hates him, but then he goes and does this thing to further just push everyone away that even supported him. Yeah, there's going to be the Zionist groups but that's such a tiny minority, and yeah, they have money to back it, but is it really worth it to him? The consequences of the entire conservative party, I was afraid of this. They were going to turn him into the next Hitler. And when I say that, I've said that a couple of times, is that he's going to be made a martyr and an example of why you don't elect somebody that's a populist and a nationalist. Not for us to take that as an example, but for any of the normies that ever had any idea of going along with populism and nationalism. And he's just a mark. It's the same thing they did with Hitler. You know, Hitler, I'm not talking about his fucking rounding up the Jews thing. I'm talking about what he was doing for his country and the way that he was trying to, like, mobilize the entire, like, you can have that argument about the Jews and all that shit about it, but, like, the real concern was about Hitler, that he was unifying an entire, like, group of people, and he was getting them to industrialize, and now it just sets an example of, for the next 30 years probably, if not even more, for the entire, like, it sucks that any conservatives have to be under the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is not conservative, but it's the only way, like, the only place for us to go. Like, the people with my views are so small. The people with your views on here are so small compared to the rest of what the right wing is, what the conservatives are, and the Republicans. And then on top of that, you're fighting the entire Democratic left-wing organization. And that's why I'm just saying it was so tiresome. I was talking to Jared about when about 7 years ago, I went to go join the Air Force, and I did qualify for special operations. And then the day after I qualified, like got all my paperwork, and I was getting sent in for MEPS, they went and somebody in the middle of the day, an old man who was a former Marine, drove his car straight into me. And the only reason that I wanted to go and join the Air Force was to stop this kind of stuff. And I have a feeling, I always have a weird feeling about this, how that happened. And like what inspired me to join the Air Force was a combination of not having anything else to do with my life after my first divorce, and hopefully my only divorce. But like, I watched a documentary on Timothy McVeigh and saw what he saw, heard his story, and I wanted to make a change. And obviously, you know, maybe I just got lucky and God said that I was going to stay here in America and try to voice myself and gather more people peacefully rather than sacrificing my body. And now I have a family, which I'm so grateful for. It's the best thing I've ever had in my life. I have 2 beautiful children. But you just gotta wonder the dirtiness of this place. The organization of it is just, and what do they plan to do with Iran? Like, before we at least had like an excuse that was viable, at least we had a guy that we were thinking about putting into office. But what are we doing now? We don't even have a guy to put in there, do we? Like, they just kind of murmurings about having a regime change, as if, like, we all know the 7-country plan. It's been in the works forever. It's just, but it's really fucking crazy. He sent me a DM about McVeigh. Hold on, let me check that real quick. Yeah, I don't quite see it, but hold on a second.
That blew up the federal building.
By the way, if you want somebody that will really explain the Timothy McVeigh situation and all the OKC stuff, how deep that goes, listen to what's his name, Austin, Better Off Dead, or what are they, their podcast, the guys that were Austin Picard, that's what it is. That guy, and I think Cole from former Tower Gain, how they already knew that, like, they kept changing the size of what they thought the bomb was in there, the explosions, the calling people off after they were being rescued, the one guy that they confused with being someone else and they murdered him, and so now his brother, who is actually a really good attorney, has been suing them and getting them to release like 500 pages a month of documents on it. Terry, what's his name? No, Terry Iki was the black guy. What was the white guy's name? But then you have John Doe number 2. It's just so wicked and it's so tiresome. Like, this whole week, I was lying to myself, telling myself, maybe I should just stop watching this stuff. Maybe these people are right that just say politics is gay. Maybe I should just tune out and just focus on my family. But like, it's such important work to just Terry Nichols. No, Terry Nichols, it wasn't him. It was, Terry Nichols was the protege. But I'm talking about the guy that they mixed up and they accidentally killed him in prison that was part of this IRA group, the Aryan group that they were accusing of doing this. The John Doe number 2, where they deleted the footage, they went and removed the video camera that recorded all this stuff, having John Doe number 2 on it, and removed it. And then they forgot to go and clean up the wall. So there was proof not only from evidence of photographs that there was a camera there that saw John Doe number 2, but they also left you put something up on a wall, it's going to leave a mark if you leave it on there long enough with the sun. But I don't understand what the plan is. When you go and completely lose all of your supporters, I don't know, like, it pisses me off that they went and, like, he let everybody on his side look like a jack off now. Well, like, any conservative that had any hope in supporting this retard, you're going to be a laughing stock for the rest of your life. This makes Biden look tame. I mean, Biden, for what it's worth, I mean, he had this entire Ukraine situation and all of, like, just so blatant, but it wasn't this. Like, it really wasn't anywhere near as bad as what this is. My wife was asking me, do you think it would have been as bad with Kamala? And honestly, I don't even think so now. And I remember, like, this Russian asset thing you're saying, Slav. Like, I remember being a bouncer at a bar, and this kid that served overseas was telling me, Trump's a Russia Putin puppet. And I was like, he's the reason we have this Ukraine war. He's the one that sent the armaments to Ukraine. Obama didn't want to give them actual missiles. He just wanted to give them defensive weaponry, or not even weaponry. He just wanted to give them, like, supplies and maybe funding. But Trump, during his first administration, is the one that actually sent them missiles and armaments because he was compensating, maybe, or just the whole time this was part of his plan, compensating for being called a Putin puppet. I really don't get what the plan is here. They didn't strike the facilities that had, they didn't have strike the facilities with the Russian scientists in it, at least is what I've been seeing. I'm also seeing that little rumors about Netanyahu. There's talks of people trying to assassinate him within the military ranks of Israel, who God knows if that's even true. That would really change things up. But it's too late now. And as we've been seeing this whole week, we know that Iran is a lot more powerful and just the amount of people here that he fucked over. Like, I'm comfortable. It's going to hurt. It's going to cause me some problems, but I have backup plans. I have ways to keep my family safe. I have ways to keep my family fed, to pay the power bill. But the people that are with me, like working with me, they don't have like family that they can depend on. They have their own problems. A lot of people that I know, it's a huge common issue, is they have kids with health defects, and they work hard to go and try to support their family, and they don't have like the backup plans that I have. It's just, I feel so bad for all the people that are in my industry, because I've been watching it. Yes, summer in my area does get a little slow as far as the cars I work on, but I work on really expensive vehicles. And so that kind of buffers me from having like a lull in pay and hours, and doing service work. I can only imagine what's happening to the other mechanics and the other shops that are having to deal with, you know, and maybe they don't even experience it because like poor people aren't really thinking about this whole situation, but they will be when gas prices are skyrocketing. And this is really, it's so bad. Yeah, cock lunch. This is exactly how the Democrats seal the victory next run. And I was telling Jared, I was like, he really is fucking Jewish. Trump really is fucking Jewish. It's not even just like a skeptical, like, I talk about a lot of things, but I don't necessarily always believe them. I'm just very open to like, okay, that's documented, let's talk about it. But this guy, it's not that he's just sold out to them. It's not that he's like obliged to go and support Israel. This motherfucker is Jewish. It's a gang. This is my problem with it, dude. It's a gang. It's not a religion. There's not a group of people that solely represents it. It's not like, you know, you have one ethnic group. It's not like a homogenous group. It's this gang, and right now, like, you just have inner gangs fighting. Like, okay, Putin's Jewish, or Putin kissed the wall, or, you know, Iran's run by Jews or Arab Jews, or Saudi is Arab Jews. It doesn't mean that there isn't inner fighting. As I was talking to Jared about this, is that I was watching a biker movie that just came out in the last year, and the one of the younger kids that wanted to like be in the gang originally got like, you know, told to go pound sand, and then comes back. He takes over and makes a group out of like under the gang's name in a different city, and then challenges the main gang leader that was the biker gang leader that denied him entry to the group. And he said, okay, well, what do you want to do, fists or knives? And so they show up to the fight, and the young kid just pulls out a gun and shoots the kid, the older guy. And it really is how everything works. All of this is just like that. And they'll take out Netanyahu and they'll put in a new guy. It's the mafia movies. It's all of it. Like, a lot of things, like, I know that like there's like the fiction brain meme, but I keep thinking about, first, Resident Evil was a documentary. Everything that's in that, especially if you watch like the Netflix adaptation to it, it was just so similar to what happened in the last decade or two. And then I've been thinking about how like the next show that is going to predict the future is Gundam. Like, if you watch Gundam, and it's basically about, like, space colonies, that they make a space colony, and then all of a sudden, people, like, start separating. And it's really interesting to see that a show that started in the 1970s is kind of predicting what's going to happen now. And you got Elon Musk with his Starlink. All of a sudden, there's rumors that he wants to go and get asylum in Russia. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, that was announced in multiple, like, I don't want to say credible, but like journalist groups that, like Yahoo News, you know, yes, they lie, but they're not going to put just something like that out. That, like, their way of lying is, you know, Trump sat in a bed with, like, hooker piss. It's not Elon Musk is going to get asylum. But I don't know what this plan is. I don't understand how you could turn your back on you've got 75% of the country now hates you. It used to be just like 40, 50%, but it's going to start growing, and they're not going to ever, like, recover from this. It's nuts. Why would you even fucking, like, try this? I don't, what's the name? What is the person that they are going to go and replace this guy with? It's so stupid. Here, Slav sent me, or was it, I forgot which one of you guys, Slav or Jared just sent me this. I forgot to play it because I was ranting.
You, the Oklahoma City bomber.
Maybe one of the benefits of me talking to you today is that you'll see that maybe not everything is true that you've heard about me.
On the morning of April 19, 1995, a decorated Gulf War combat vet blew up the federal building in Oklahoma City using a truck bomb that he didn't build in a Ryder truck that he didn't rent with the help of a passenger who didn't exist. Having just gotten away with the largest act of terrorism on U.S. soil to date, the Fort Bragg-trained Special Forces Sheep Drip Dropout blended in with the crowd by making his getaway in a car without a license plate and was immediately pulled over. The ATF was the supposed target of the attack, but luckily all of their agents were out of the office that morning. Later that day, the president boldly declared,
"We will find the people who did this.
And
when we do, justice will be swift, certain, and severe."
Except for,
you know, by the way, we were watching that video of Kay Griggs, and she started to mention about Haitians being groomed as child assassins. That fucker, Bill Clinton, and his wife were responsible for a lot of that trafficking. And if you look up the story of the Amber Alert system, it started by the people in the Clinton Foundation that were abducting children and were arrested and then had to flee the country once they were put out on bail.
John Doe number 2.
John Doe number 2.
John Doe number 2.
And that bitch right there, she was involved in Waco as well, which is ironic because Timothy McVeigh watched Waco from the hill. And after being deployed and then seeing them burn those children alive is what supposedly happened.
Doe number 2.
John Doe number 2.
who, according to the FBI, never existed. In McVeigh's unprecedented 3.5-week trial, the prosecution didn't show the CCTV footage of him and John Doe number 2 parking the Ryder truck. Didn't explain why 24 separate witnesses mass hallucinated the existence of John Doe number 2. Didn't explain why the government was testing truck bombs and the Army was storing Ryder trucks at Camp Gruber right before the bombing. And didn't talk to the FBI informants who blew the whistle on the plot. But they did collaborate with the CIA, and they did convict McVeigh as the lone wolf bomber and Terry Nichols as his bomb-constructing accomplice. Still, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists, including 300 bombing victims, insist on talking about facts and evidence and refuse to simply believe what they've been told a million times by people in tailored suits with well-coiffed hair. They quote the U.S. Army Brigadier General and the FBI crime lab whistleblower and the inventor of the neutron bomb, who point out the physical impossibility that the Ryder truck bomb did the damage to the building, but that doesn't matter because if there were other bombs in the building that day, we would have heard about them.
The second explosive was found and diffused.
I think he said another bomb.
The Justice Department is reporting that a second explosive device has been found.
They then found a third device, which was also larger than the first.
And I see another bomb truck going, so apparently they're going to try to get out that third bomb.
The FBI claims to have lost the footage showing McVeigh and John Doe number 2 parking the truck in front of the Murrah building that morning, but that's understandable because the Bureau has a lot of important evidence to store. Terry Nichols insists the FBI was involved in the plot, but thankfully a judge has saved us the trouble of listening to him by preventing lawyers from deposing him. There was a bomb squad truck parked across the street 2 hours before the blast, but that just shows the authorities were prepared for anything. And
other documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called the Executive Secretariat's office at the Justice Department in Washington and said the Murrah building had been bombed. But this was 24 minutes before the blast.
But that just shows the public was unusually vigilant that morning. Also,
apparently, before the bombing, Governor Frank Keating's brother, Mark, had been working on a novel about a terrorist bombing in Oklahoma City. Stranger still, one of the characters in the novel was named Thomas McVeigh.
Jesus Christ. I didn't even know about that. But it's just crazy, you know, how Zelensky had an acting job playing a guy that is a comedian that becomes president. And I don't know if you guys know this, but whenever you see any of these movies where they have to go and use military equipment, if they want to do flybys or any kind of like military equipment is used, they always have to get permission from the CIA. And so all of that stuff is in basically their hands as how do they want that story told. Just remember that anytime that you have a war movie, anytime they use anything, it's all done. Like fucking what's his name's dad did the Gulf of Tonkin. Fucking Jim Morrison, his dad staged the false flag of Gulf of Tonkin, and then Jim Morrison, his band, The Doors, would record in a private studio owned by the CIA. Like it's all just so fucking tiresome. And just imagine, I'm sure you guys do this because you're all fucking autistic as well, is that fucking just, you can't shut the fuck up about this stuff. It's my entire like personality is just blathering on about the fucking government and the fucking crazy shit. I just had a conversation before I went on here. I called my dad, who's like completely against anything that I really believe, but we do share, like, I find out some things that he does like secretly keep in his you know, back pocket that he doesn't talk about. And I just called him up because I'm concerned, you know. My dad left Chile, I believe, during, what was it, Allende? Or is that a different dictator? But I know that he's had experience. He's seen what it's like to flee a country, and he lives in a place that I feel would be targeted. So I called him up to see how he was feeling, and it just, he's worried too. And my dad doesn't get really worried too much about this stuff. And this is very concerning. I don't understand how they could bring us into a war like this unless it's just going to be ended so quickly. But even then, who are they going to replace these people with? I don't understand it. Netanyahu is not going to survive in his country. Ukraine, the whole importance of that, aside from that one pipeline I showed you guys before, where it was, I keep bringing this up, but I mean, it's so painfully obvious when you look at this, where it goes through. I mean, that's where that pipeline was that they blew up, and they're trying to go and get this route set up versus having to go through here. I don't know how they can just keep fucking up like this. There's no end goal. I don't see how you fucking do this. And sorry, I started to lose my point, was that Ukraine is not only for that route, but also collateral for loans, because as you guys know, we've printed out so much fucking money in this country. It's unbelievable the amount of money. Again, it was Trump. Fucking Trump did that to us. This fucking retard went and is so proud of anything that he can put his name on that says big. It really is so baffling that it's collateral. We need collateral. Like, that's a new thing. My grandma would always say that you invest in property and land because it's like the one thing that's always going to make money. And that's what you can take out loans against. This is what my dad does, is he, once he got some money, he would buy a house. He got the house, took a loan out against it, bought a second house with that loan, rent it out, and that's just how you make money. And you just keep doing that over and over again. It's, you know, it's not super respectable to a lot of people, but this is how the rich people fucking make money. This is why they keep buying up property. And so they're going to use this as collateral, I'm assuming, because Israel, they've printed out a bunch of money. The amount of destruction that they've taken to their infrastructure to build it back, you know, how else are you going to take out loans unless you have something to take it out against? You know, it's just, yeah, I know, but a lot of people don't like landlords or having, it's, you know, so that's why I'm saying that. But it's just, it really, the reason I say this all, by the way, is actually, I'll bring that up for you guys, because this is something that you guys should really, it's still relevant, even though it's a couple months old. This was on Clint Russell's show, Liberty Lockdown. He had a guy that went, and he was kind of an apologist for the invasions and usury and all this stuff. But where is this guy's video? It was really, really, really good. God damn it, where is it? He had, fuck, I'm sorry. I hate having dead air like this. It's gotta be, I hope it didn't get taken down unless it's under his live. He might have done it with a live show. Yeah, I'll play the rest of this while...
But that's probably just a coincidence. McVeigh wrote a letter to his sister where he admitted to being a Secret Special Forces operative, and he complained to friends of the pain in his ass from an Army-implanted microchip, but that's crazy, because if he didn't actually leave the Army in 1991, there would be proof of that. McVeigh was not executed on May 16, 2001 as scheduled because...
the FBI had failed to turn over thousands of pages of evidence to McVeigh's defense attorneys.
But the execution went ahead on June 11th. In a highly unusual and secret agreement, no autopsy was performed. One witness said he was still breathing, and the prison officials admitted his hearse was a decoy. Then, the case was officially closed. And if you question any part of this story, you are a paranoid, wingnut, birther, truther, tenther, prepper, conspiracy loon who'd bring up any of these points ever again. Ever. This message has been brought to you by the friends of the FBI, ATF, DOJ, CIA, SPLC, MSM, and the U.S. Army. And remember, ignorance is strength.
God, I'm sorry. I wish I could remember what that guy's name was. I'm trying to find the interview, but this guy explained how, like, Ukraine is going to be used as collateral for, it wasn't Ryan Dawson. Ryan Dawson's a faggot. Fuck. Where is it? Sorry, I hate doing this where I don't have, where I have dead air. Fuck, I hope he didn't take it down, 'cause I'm not seeing the interview. I remember I was working on my house when I saw it. Fuck, that's way too old.
I believe.
All right, let's see if it's this. No, because he's flying solo right there. That's not it. Ukraine.
Then.
Okay, that's not. This is a different guy. Ah, fuck. That's not him. God damn it.
Their ally. And
can you believe, though, that we were just worried about Ukraine? Maybe that's a good sign that, like, it was just that we were panicked about Ukraine. And, oh, it's this guy, I think. Is it? Fuck. God damn it, dude. Fucking retard. All right. I'm almost about to give up on finding it. God, I can't believe. Was it this? Oh, okay, this one.
That, so they're gonna.
This one. Okay, I found it. Good. All right. Sorry about that. This interview, Trump's master plan to break the EU and make the U.S. dominant once again. His name was, where is this? Tom Luongo, and this is on Liberty Lockdown. And this guy basically explains how we're going to go and use Ukraine, or actually Europe is depending on using Ukraine for collateral too, because a lot of these, really everyone's in a situation where they've over borrowed. And I feel like it's been a giant race of people borrowing and then thinking that they can take out their enemy before the debt comes due. So that's what I think was the plan here. Let me see.
Borrowing and printing it. So it's looking rough. I mean, my read of things is that Europe and Canada are just absolutely fucked. Like, and Canada in particular, I'm like, I'm curious to get your read, and this is like one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you again, despite the fact that you're just very interesting. No,
it's fine.
Is that, you know, Canada, to me, I'm trying to get a read on what Trump's doing. You know, it's very interesting because, yeah, I know he does tend to think that, you know, trade deficits are the end of the world, and I don't particularly feel that way, but it seems as if he's treating Canada significantly worse than they probably deserve. And, you know, maybe I'm just being a softie.
I think so.
What's his angle? What's he doing?
Well, his angle is I think it's the same angle that he has for the United States. Like, I've been operating under the premise since Powell started the stealth tightening back in June of 2021. That if I'm, you know, it's back then when you and I think you and I haven't spoken like directly in a couple of years since I first started talking about this. Back then, when I was thinking about that, and I then projected it out, I'm like, what does that mean? Does this mean like that we are like declaring independence all over again? Is this the real American Revolution? Because it has to be divesting and not divesting, but creating separation between European and American markets, meaning we get to price dollars at the margin, not Europe, not the City of London. We've never been able to do that in our entire history. And it's been an obsession of mine now for the last 3 years as I play that thesis out, or play that hypothesis, not thesis, but hypothesis out in my head, and then see if I can I can then falsify it, right? And what I've come to the conclusion is I think I'm right, that you have to, if Trump is trying to declare independence from old colonial Europe and England, then he's trying to save the United States. Well, what if it's a bigger story than that? What if what he's actually saying is we're going to free the entire West from these fucking people? Now, how do you do that? Well, you do that by forcing all the globalists that run Canada out of office. You put pressure on Keir Starmer in England. You put pressure on NATO, which is how the European Union thinks it's going to continue to, live on our couch and make us pay the mortgage payment for Europe. Like, no, so it's all tied to the money flow. It's all tied to that. And so tariffs are a strategy to blow open this nonsense. 86, all the trade imbalances, and let's reset the playing field. And this is the way I've been trying to explain, if you really listen to him talk, and his language is terrible. Like, he's triggered so many Canadians on this because, and I get it. If I were Canadian, I'd be just as triggered by Trump, calling us the 51st state as anybody else. I'm not going to lie here. But, and this is what I was saying to Sean not 2 hours ago, and it's in some ways, it's also what I said to Chris Sims, is that, look, get past the emotional response. Think about what this is actually doing. You're not happy with Justin Trudeau. You don't want Mark Carney. You didn't want Chrystia Freeland. You don't trust Pierre Poilievre. Like, I've talked to Canadians about this, from Ontario to British Columbia, and I've talked to them all, and they're all like, yeah, no, Poilievre's no better. He's just controlled opposition at best.
I agree.
He's weak. So was Scott Moe in Saskatchewan. And now we're figuring out probably Daniel Smith out in Alberta. And I'm plugged deeply into, through Sean Newman and others, Alberta politics. So at this point, I'm going to be there in May. Again, I'm going to be in Calgary in May.
So there is no opposition.
Right. Well,
I was hoping to get to
is this any worse?
Ukraine's
in order to leave us at the zero bound forever and neuter the Fed and destroy the country. That was the moment. Now, during that time, and what I said was, okay, if I'm right about this, then someone in the Senate is going to oppose this bill, and they're going to have the ability, they're going to have somebody standing on their shoulder saying, it's okay, Joe Manchin, it's okay, Kirsten Sinema, you can oppose this because they're not going to kill your children. They're not going to kill you. Why? Because we're fucking J.P. Morgan, and we're the patriots within the DOD, and this is what you're going to do.
Interesting.
And I think that was my read then, and I was right about it. And I think this thing started when Trump first came to office in 2017 to get SOFR started, and then it's been just assiduously, brick by brick, block by block, all the way down the line. And the most powerful of the money center, and the reason why the money center U.S. banks would hatch this plan is because Davos's plan is to do away with commercial banking and move everybody onto a central bank digital currency.
They're like, fuck that.
Yeah, they're like, no, fuck you. Like, no way.
Yeah, you're going to take away my golden goose? You out of your mind? I can understand the difference in interests. What I think is interesting is the Russia-Ukraine war and the response from, NATO, basically the Biden administration, or, Obama term 3 administration was in lockstep with NATO, with those provocations. Obviously, Kamala Harris sparked much of it when she said that the door remains open to Ukraine to enter NATO, and Putin's like, well, no, the fuck it isn't. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, go across the border. Shock and awe. Do the thing. Oh, by the way, the Russians can do maneuver warfare if they really want to. They've just chosen not to for the last 3 years for this reason. But go ahead.
Yeah. So my read of it, and the primary reason I ended up supporting Trump, outside of your hypothesis, which I do find compelling, was just that I think that he is less interested in seeing a hot war with Russia, whereas I felt like we were very much on the precipice. And So it does seem as if, particularly after J.D. Vance's speech, which if anybody hasn't heard it, I did a full episode on it. It was fantastic in Europe, 2-3 weeks ago. And he just basically reads them the riot act. And it seemed to signal to me that, and I think that if your hypothesis is correct, it would be very, very likely that, in fact, the Trump administration does intend to leave NATO. Am I reading too much into that?
I don't think you are. I think that, look, Macron wants to be king of Europe, has always talked about an EU army, and France becoming France and Germany becoming the new military industrial complex for Europe. So the question then is, will American military industrial interests, what are they going to do? Well, if Trump is offering them, hey, we need to rebuild our military here. I mean, Trump, let's just throw something out there. Trump is talking about the amount of money that we've thrown at Ukraine. He's like, we could have rebuilt the entire Navy with that money. Right? The whole Navy needs a refit. We could have refit the entire existing U.S. Navy, which needs a refit badly. Right? So just him throwing that's a bon mot to let you know. Look, we'll throw the money at Grumman and Northrop.
You're still going to get paid. Stop lobbying my fucking congressman.
and stop trying to gin up a war with China for the purposes of being able to sell the next generation weapons. We're still going to have next generation weapons. We don't need to have a war with Russia or China or even the threat thereof. The real problem is we have to get the money to stop flowing into Europe to destabilize our country because they're using our taxpayer money against us. And I think that's been the story of the first 3 months or 2.5 months of this Trump administration is, look, you American taxpayers are being ripped off and your money is going overseas to destroy your home. And it's being done by our allies, our supposedly friends and allies, including the Canadians. To not Canadian people, the leadership.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And so just to make it abundantly clear. And so I think that the certain level that is, so you're right. Trump wants an end to the war with Russia. They just had an hour and a half phone call today. It was, cordial, and they have a framework. And I love what I heard from Putin. He's like, look, I'll be happy to stop bombing the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, which is real. That's taking pressure off the civilian population. But no, and let's have a 30-day ceasefire. I'll stop doing that. You don't move any material in for 30 days. We'll stop the fighting. And let's sit down and have a framework and have a talk, right? That's a perfectly reasonable opening gambit for structured talks around Ukraine. So I like what I see out of that. I think the Trump Putin thing, I think they've already decided on what the deal is. I'll be honest with you, Clint. I think they came to that conclusion last year.
I was theorizing exactly that, and the reason I was theorizing it just last night actually was that Putin didn't intervene on behalf of Assad, and I thought that was very interesting because I mean they're one of their top allies. The whole reason that Assad had survived that civil war as long as he did is because of Russian support, and suddenly in 24, 48 hours, it's just like it's over and he's gone and he's on a plane to Russia, and I'm like, all right, that feels like a backroom deal to me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just it just fell apart.
I think you're on. It's funny. That is one read, and I tried to go a little deeper on that. There's more to the Assad story than just that because he's got deep ties to the city of London and blah 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 blah. So Syria is truly the enigma wrapped in a puzzle, wrapped in spaghetti. Like it's fucking retarded. It's crazy how deep it is, right? And I've tried so hard to try and map it all, and after a while, I just no, I don't know. What I know is that Erdogan. All right, Erdogan has moved in to try and stabilize the situation for someone. I'm not sure who at this point. The Israelis are both happy and sad about what's going on, and it's all a mess.
Yeah,
the reality is it is. But when you back out of all of that, and then you have Erdogan today. Let's add one more thing, saying, "Oh, Crimea, we will never recognize Crimea along with the EU." Like, why would Erdogan act like the EU's bitch on this one? This makes no sense. Why wouldn't he not?
Fascinating.
Yeah. Now,
You know, I was wondering if there's a mixture of what the plan is as far as, okay, we take out those facilities, those nuclear facilities, and then as that guy from Ginza was saying the other day, well, maybe the route for Israel to take is to go and do this alone. So, God, I hope that that's the case, is that we can wash our hands of this. This is just, again, I don't know where this fucking leads.
Now he's like aligning himself with Europe as opposed to Trump and Putin. What is he, nuts? Well, yes, but that's because he's Erdogan. But he has always bigger plans, right? At the same time, he may have actually probably. I'll be honest with you. I can actually answer my own question now. Erdogan makes that statement because he's in a very difficult position politically for the first time in his entire career. The halo effect of taking Syria is going to wear off. He's still got Kurdish problems. He's still got other issues as well. Because remember, the SDF Kurds have made a deal with the Jalani government in Syria, and that makes him. So yeah, I can see like he has real political issues in Turkey.
Yeah.
But let's just back out to the 30,000 foot level here, which is what I've been trying to like get away from all the minutia, even though the minutia is important, and let's just kind of back out and say, what do we actually all want? Well, what we want is an Israel sufficiently neutered that it doesn't have support from Western powers, and we want an Iran sufficiently neutered that it doesn't have real, honest-to-God support from Eastern powers, meaning Russia and or China. What you want is, if they both want to be belligerent, they get to be belligerent on their own, without British, French, and American support. Right. I think that's what everybody's been asking for. And I think that Russia is happy to have a strategic relationship with Iran in order to help stabilize the Russian southern border, and Azerbaijan, Armenia, that area, as well as Afghanistan and everything else. Like that's, I think, where Russia and Iran's focus wants to be. That's where Putin wants their focus to be, not the Middle East anymore. Trump with his Gaza plan and all this other stuff. I know what he wants. He wants the Arabs to come in and step in and deal with the problem.
Yeah,
right.
That was my.
He wants the Arabs to take responsibility for the Palestinians in a way that nobody ever did before.
Which is exactly what Egypt, they flipped out and then they offered that. So yeah.
Right, exactly, and so did the Saudis. And it was the minute Trump said, "No, I'm going to take Gaza," they're like, "No, okay, right?"
They're like, "We'll handle the rebuild. Get the fuck out of here."
Right. Well, again, but you can't do that until you stabilize, until you in effect stabilize Israel. Now, the way you neuter Israel is not necessarily by cutting off arms support or cutting off this aid or whatever. It is actually to take away their support from Britain, and you do that by attacking City of London directly, because Israel is a land-based aircraft carrier for the British remnant. Because Israel exists.
Hold on. This is so counter to what everybody else feels about Trump, that he's Israel's bitch. And you're saying he's trying to undermine them.
No, he's not trying to undermine them. He's trying to allow them to stand on their own, but he's not going to do so with.
Hey, that's exactly. Okay, so this was 3 months ago, and that's exactly what that guy from Ginza was saying. And I was just repeating about them going and trying to get them to stand on their own.
But they can't do so if Iran gets to have its axis of resistance running around the region, blowing shit up. That's why Hezbollah needed to be taken out. That's why he bombed the Houthis. Because here's the thing. What's left of the British Empire? Other than their traditional relationships inside India, inside the United States, inside Canada, all their colonial, Hong Kong and whatnot around the world. What's their superpower that they have left other than MI6? It's the fact that the British pound settles 30% of global forex.
Global trade, yeah. Okay.
And that their shipping insurance industry and their shipping industry is where the bulk of the money, why the money flows through Britain. That's what Israel is. Israel is there to protect British shipping and maritime interests, and the United States is there as the gendarme to protect that insurance business out of the City of London. Now, does anybody really want Israel to go away in that respect? No, but we can't have them. We can't have London being the forex center of the world anymore. That if we move that from London to New York or Dallas or wherever the new Wall Street's going to be in the United States, all of a sudden we hold those purse strings, we hold the puppet strings, and we have better relationships with the Saudis, with the Qataris, and everybody else, and the British are locked out of that. And
do you think that the
settling
Israelis
Ukraine means also that none of these people, Europe nor Britain, have access to the vast Russian collateral that the resource pile of the Donbass and plus Russia represent, which is how they're going to feed the cash flow after they default. They need to default, but then have set up future cash flow streams that they can issue new debt against. And if they don't have Ukraine and Russia, they don't have any collateral, or if they don't have the position in the Middle East, they don't have any oil collateral. So now what?
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. That was the negotiation chip that both Starmer and Trump were dangling to continue to keep aid with Ukraine was the rare earth minerals. So that now makes sense to me.
I think it's actually the coal, the oil and gas under the CMA's off, and blah blah blah, and the Russian uranium and the Kazakh uranium and all the rest of it. So and the timber and the coal, the tungsten and the tantalum, like all the fourth row transition metals. Being an old chemist, like I look at those fourth row or third row transition metals, and I'm like, those are the big ones, because that's where all the metallurgical magic happens. So in aerospace, in space, and everything else.
Right. So this is their last lifeline for old Europe, is basically to get those resources, use it as collateral to lever up again, and maybe they.
This is what I was talking about right here, where he's talking about getting the collateral out of Europe. Let me just rewind a little bit.
The Kazakh uranium and all the rest of it. So. And the timber and the coal, the tungsten and the tantalum, like all the fourth row transition metals. Being an old chemist, like I look at those fourth row or third row transition metals, and I'm like, those are the big ones, because that's where all the metallurgical magic happens. So in aerospace, in space, and everything else.
Right. So this is their last lifeline for old Europe, is basically to get those resources, use it as collateral to lever up again, and maybe they survive a little longer.
Oh no, and then they use that. They don't survive a little while longer if they destroy the United States in the process. If they destroy the rule of law, if they destroy the culturally and everything else, and they get the United States and Russia into a hot war over fucking Ukraine, guess what? They run the table on humanity.
No, that'd be huge.
Fuck that.
Yeah,
no,
I'm not interested in that.
And also, remember, Iran has a lot of French influence.
At all.
Yeah, nothing gets me angrier than like guys. And so I saw this like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
like I was chatting with the Duran guys about this ages ago, saying this has got to end. The EU is the danger here.
I know. And you and I actually, I've come around later than you, but. My read has been similarly that, like, it's obvious to me that the EU leadership, the political class, I don't know that they actually run shit, but the talking heads are way more bombastic towards Russia. I mean, like just psychopathic, like, honestly. And that's why I've been, beating the drum to get us the fuck out of NATO. Kind of the same concept of this, allowing Israel to stand on its own 2 feet. It's like, there's no malice here. It's like, I don't want you guys to all die in nuclear hellfire. I just don't want to die alongside you. Like, if you want to act like a lunatic, do it on your own and suffer the consequences, because we're out. So I like your hypothesis.
No, and take it one step. No, you're absolutely right. And I'm glad that we have a meeting in the lines on this, because it's so very important point here, which is that we can free Europe in the same process.
Right.
Like, if we're offering our independence, then translates to Canadian independence, which translates into European independence, which is why Trump and Elon Musk spent so much time on the campaign trail schmoozing Giorgia Meloni in Italy. because Italy is part of the triangle, the triumvirate, the three legs that make up the European power: France, Germany, and Italy. France and Germany are clearly captured territory, with Macron, operating as the lead man, and the Germans now almost in many ways, fully subordinate. I just saw this afternoon the Germans are nominating Annalena Baerbock, the soon-to-be former foreign minister, as head of the UN, as Secretary General of the UN. Like, are you kidding me? This woman is a moron. She's the only thing she's qualified for is getting fucked on OnlyFans. Like, seriously. And okay, I might watch, but she's not unattractive in a kind of cougar-esque way, in a German cougar-esque way. But I have no filter, dude. So
no, I know. It's okay.
But it's Italy. That's the key here, which is that if and we've been talking. I've been talking with Italians about this behind the scenes for years. Like, where are the most American bases in Europe? They're all in Italy.
Oh, I didn't.
There's 100 American bases in Italy. The French are trying to take
Operation
over
Gladio,
the northwestern part of Italy through the Treaty of Quirinale that Mattarella signed off on, the Italian president. But so that the French have the right to move troops into the northern part of Italy if they need to. Like, are you kidding me? So it's very clear that if Meloni can, and that's why she always looks like she's, one day she looks like one thing, the next day she looks like something else. Like, she's in a very, very delicate position because she has a very delicate coalition government, because both Lega and Forza Italia are not reliable partners. You've got an Italian deep state, as I said at the beginning of the show, that's 2,000 years old, that wants what Brussels wants, and she's fighting that. We have, this is where her working with the Americans, and she was doing it through Giuseppe Crosetto, the defense minister, during the campaign, during the first 2 years that she was in power. There was a lot of liaisoning going back and forth between the American military and Crosetto. He was very important. I didn't talk about this very much, but I knew what was going. I knew what was going on. I was just watching it I was getting fed stuff, and then I was just watching it. And then boom, when he sent Elon Musk over there to schmooze and charm Georgia Malone, I knew exactly what that was. That was obvious. And then she's at CPAC, and then every time anything important about Ukraine happens, she always votes the right way. Sometimes she says the wrong things, but then in the end, I'll send weapons over there, and she sends old Italian tanks that don't work. Like, you know what I mean? She sends Italian artillery that has to be refit. That's literally non-functional. And then
so you think she signed into our alliance, basically?
Oh, absolutely, because she understood that the only way Italy survives is they make an alliance with the United States. But she can't get out from underneath Europe until Europe implodes. The European Union has to implode. And so I was reading something this morning that one of my patrons found. Let me see if I can find it. You filibuster for a minute. I'm going to go look for this. I'm going to read this.
Well, I've got a question for you while you look for that. So my hypothesis has been that perhaps Russia is or Trump and Putin are negotiating basically an allyship, where Russia is no longer a pariah state. They come into the, we've always spoken about the Western world, but this would really break that paradigm where it would no longer be the West, Europe and US. It would be a Russia-US alliance with Europe kind of in the cold. Is that the next step?
I think it's a Yalta 2 with Putin, Xi, and Trump carving up the world and leaving the EU
along
out of
with
it.
China. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that the
is this basically describing a divorce? Is that like we're leaving our abusive spouse and we're just going to give them the house and move in with our new pretty girlfriend and her hot sister? Is that what we're doing? Is we're just getting rid of fucking Israel to go bang the hot Russian girl and maybe get a hand job at the massage parlor? Is that what we're doing? Is that the plan? I I fully endorse that if this gets us away from that crazy bitch that's been fucking driving around on fucking benzos and drunk. Goddamn, thank God we didn't get Israel pregnant. Could you imagine that? They start fucking bursting out babies and refugees over to this fucking country. That was my big concern the other day, was that, goddamn, if they fuck up Israel enough, you know they're going to be sending over these fucking doctors and lawyers, and I don't mean black people this time, into our fucking country. I don't even know which one I would rather have, is the metaphorical doctor lawyer Somalis or the actual doctor lawyers that come over here from fucking Israel. It's really like a crapshoot. But with that, I've got a paintball game tomorrow where I get to shoot up my coworkers, which I'm really looking forward to. And they have no idea that I used to play paintball and have some really good equipment. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully some of the people that I don't like show up at this field tomorrow, particularly this one black kid and a service advisor. God, that black kid is going to be orange tomorrow. And so is that fucking goddamn cokehead service advisor. Boy, they're going to be in pain. I'm sorry. I accidentally left my full auto on and my finger stayed on the trigger. I didn't mean to keep shooting you as I kept walking closer to you, and you cowered and said, "Stop, please." Yeah, I'm about to really wreck some of these people tomorrow. I was tuning in my gun today, my marker, as the fucking autistic paintballers will call it. So with that, if you would care to like, I would appreciate that. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thank you for being here and listening to me bitch and moan. If you want to see the rest of this interview, go to Liberty Lockdown, Liberty Lockdown, and look for the one that's on March 19th with Tom Luongo. He does go into it a little bit deeper about how they are going to use Europe or Ukraine for collateral, and that's the second time this week that we've heard this, and this is two completely different sources of Israel going their own way. Maybe they'll actually do that. God, that would make things so much better. I feel bad for the people of Iran. I feel bad for the people of the Middle East. Maybe they'll fucking finally take out the little Satan. But again, I appreciate you guys being here, man. We'll have some fun next time.